On a Friday morning, Simone stood in the kitchen doorway with a suitcase and mentioned a fractured limb. Her former partner, Trent, recently divorced, sought help for 2 weeks. She was ready to leave. I glanced at the suitcase, then at her, and uttered the surprising word, "Okay." She seemed taken aback. It appeared she'd prepared for an argument, evident from her rigid posture, but I offered no resistance. She bestowed a kiss on my cheek, wheeled her bag to the car, and departed before I could finish my coffee. 3 months prior to that Friday, there was a subtle change in our household, insignificant enough to overlook if unattentive, but I had spent 19 years being mindful of Simone. By Friday night, I'd already initiated the call that sealed our separation. Let me clarify first. For the first time since I knew her, she enrolled in a gym, consistently placed her phone face down on various surfaces, and twice arrived home later than usual, explaining it as girls' nights, which seemed incongruous with her tone. Somewhere along the way, she rekindled contact with Trent, an ex-boyfriend now working at a car dealership in Reno, approximately 2 hours east. He was going through a difficult divorce, she claimed, and she felt compassionate towards him. I didn't explode or questioned her. Approximately a month before that Friday, I researched a divorce lawyer named Weiss, saved his number in my phone under garage door repair, and convinced myself I fervently hoped not to need it. That wasn't cowardice. It was planning ahead. In my profession, I manage supply chains, coordinating freight across 14 states. The fundamental rule of the job is you don't wait for a breakdown to find a mechanic. You locate the mechanic first and hope the engine endures. Simone remained unaware of that number's existence. For 19 years, she perceived me as the same man who seldom inquired. Her assumption was correct up until that quiet Friday night when the house, unusually silent for years, lacked the usual sounds of the TV or running water upstairs. The only noises were the refrigerator's hum and my presence on the couch with my phone. I hadn't intended to scrutinize our bank account, but something about the way she'd packed her suitcase compelled me to open it after all those years. A recent transaction appeared at the top of the feed, timestamped 3 hours prior. It was a charge from a location called the Whitfield, a downtown Reno boutique hotel, not a pharmacy or a cab ride to an unfamiliar address. Instead, it showed a 14-night prepaid reservation on our joint card. I placed my phone on the car seat and gazed at the wall opposite me for roughly 10 seconds. That was all I afforded myself. After this brief pause, I retrieved the phone, navigated to garage door repair, and dialed Weiss' number. He didn't respond. It was nearly 9 p.m. on a Friday, so I contacted the person I had to reach. Nadine responded promptly after the second ring. She is Simone's elder sister, aged 51, residing about 20 minutes away in Sacramento, and has been part of my life almost as long as Simone. Over a span of 19 years, she had become like family to me, beyond mere legal kinship, the kind where we call each other first when something goes awry. I kept our conversation concise. Simone informed me she was assisting Trent with a broken leg. She booked a boutique hotel in downtown Reno using our shared credit card instead. I will file a report on Monday morning. I ask that you refrain from contacting her until then. The call remained silent for an extended period, long enough for me to confirm the connection was still intact. When Nadine broke her silence, her voice echoed exhaustion unrelated to the time. She admitted this wasn't the first instance, and she was done concealing for her sister. She didn't disclose specifics, nor did I inquire. I didn't require the entire chronicle. A single bank transaction on my screen sufficed. Hearing Nadine utter those words altered something within me. Over 3 months, I had observed the gym visits, the face-down phone, and the late nights. I wasn't delusional. There was a pattern, and it extended beyond my knowledge. Nadine vowed to remain silent until I signaled, and I trusted her, for she sounded like someone who could no longer bear the weight of a secret. On Saturday morning, I sat in Weiss's office at 915 with a bank statement printout on his desk. He examined it, eyed me, and said it was simple. California being a no-fault state, the hotel receipt wouldn't alter the legal calculations, but it would impact the bargaining. By Monday, he will complete and submit the petition. I instructed him to do so. Afterwards, I drove from Weiss's office directly to the bank, transferring our joint savings into a personal account I had set up online previously. Weiss assured me it was clear. Before filing, shared funds can be divided as long as only one's share is taken. The teller didn't seem surprised. I signed, exited, and spent a minute observing a pair arguing over a parking space 2 rows away in the lot, contemplating how my significant financial decision took less time than their argument about a parking spot. I contacted Elliot at school on Sunday. He is in his 22nd year at Oregon State, a bright student who understands human dynamics as I do shipping routes. I didn't sugarcoat it. Your mother departed for Reno with another man. I will file tomorrow. After a brief pause, he asked if he should return home. I advised him to complete the semester and handle matters on this end. He agreed, and I could sense his determination not to break down over the phone, which I admired. On Sunday evening, Simone phoned for a regular catch-up. Her voice was brimming with energy, a kind that required effort. She inquired about our house and if I'd consumed anything other than takeout. In turn, I asked after Trent's leg. She reported it was improving. He was now using crutches. Physical therapy was scheduled to start the next week. Each sentence felt like a deception spoken by the woman I had wed, landing in my ear like a coin dropping into a jar I was silently filling. I responded with an affirmative and told her I was about to watch the game before hanging up. That conversation marked the last time I interacted with Simone in any meaningful way as her spouse. Monday morning, Weiss submitted the petition, sent me a confirmation via text, and informed me that the respondent would be served electronically since we had Simone's email address on record. I thanked him, slipped the phone into my pocket, and drove to work. The warehouse operated a double shift, and I had 2 delivery trucks rerouted from Phoenix. It was just another chaotic Monday. I appreciated the chaos because it was the kind I could manage. By Monday evening, all the paperwork was logged into the system. Simone was staying in a fashionable hotel in Reno with a man she claimed to have a broken leg, and everything I had established over 19 years was tucked away in a downtown filing cabinet, awaiting sorting into 2 organized piles. This was all due to her using the wrong credit card. In more accurate terms, she used her usual card since she never thought I'd check it. On Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang, and it was Simone, but not the cheerful Simone from Sunday. Instead, this version spoke hurriedly, interrupting herself, her words tumbling out like she needed to get them out as fast as possible. She had received the notification about the filing on her email while sitting in that hotel room, and she wanted to confirm if it was genuine. Was I sincere? What was happening? I cut off her oxygen supply, then uttered 6 words. "Return home. We'll converse here." I ended the call. Apparently, she haphazardly filled her suitcase as she had on Friday, since by 6 in the evening her car was parked in our driveway and she walked in through the front door with a smudged eye and jacket collar awry. I sat at the kitchen table, a glass of water in hand and my laptop displaying the bank statement. There were no surprises, no hidden cameras, no staged drama. Just a man alone at his table confronted by a reality on screen. Upon entering, Simone dropped her bag near the door, took a seat opposite me, and started speaking before she could catch her breath. Trent genuinely required assistance, she explained. The hotel stay was necessary because his apartment was cramped, only 1 bedroom. It would have been uncomfortable. She was merely helping a friend. That was all. I swiveled my laptop around so the screen faced her and pointed at the charge. An upscale hotel in downtown Reno, 14 nights prepaid. Not a motel near his apartment or a fold-out couch at a friend's place. Instead, a hotel with a rooftop bar and valet parking was booked with a card linked to an account she'd used for 19 years without contemplating that I might check it. I told her that people nursing someone on crutches don't typically choose the Whitfield. Simone shifted, altering the story. She claimed it was a mistake, things became complex, and she didn't know how to clarify it. I allowed her to finish, then said something I'd been carrying since Friday night. 19 years, that's how long I trusted you without questioning anything. A suitcase filled, a hotel in another city, and a tale about a broken leg, that's not a mistake, Simone. A genuine mistake is missing an exit on the freeway. What you did was map out a route, secure the room, and deceive me as you left. She fell silent. The kitchen clock ticked 3, 4, 5 times. Her expression fell, and she expressed remorse, admitting she'd bitten off more than she could chew. She sought an opportunity to rectify the situation. I informed her that the filing was completed, the funds distributed, leaving nothing left to correct as she had damaged the one thing I believed she would never tamper with. Simone remained silent for a while, tears streaming down, her palms flat on the table as if clinging to her existence. Then she said what I had been anticipating since Tuesday. She required contacting Nadine. Her sibling would empathize. Nadine always understood. She'd communicate with me, help resolve this, find a compromise. Simone was about to reach for her phone when I disclosed it. I contacted Nadine on Friday night, the same evening you departed. She is aware of everything, the hotel, the filing, the entirety of it. She's been informed for 4 days. The color drained from Simone's face in a way I had never witnessed before, as if someone had disconnected her. She stared at me, then dialed Nadine immediately at the table. I remained still. The interaction spanned approximately 90 seconds. Simone mentioned her sister's name twice, posed a question that was somewhat unclear, and then fell silent. Upon ending the call, she placed the phone face down on the table, a routine she had maintained for months, but this time with no secrets to conceal. Nadine hadn't given any warnings for days, and Simone's own sister remained quiet. This wasn't due to Nadine being cruel, but rather because Nadine was finished. Whatever troubles Simone had caused her before, the deceit, the concealment, the discreet resolution, it had reached its limit. And Simone could discern it in her sister's voice, just as I had heard it on Friday night. Fatigue, not rage. The following morning, Simone packed a genuine bag, unlike the 2-week vacation luggage, and relocated to a short-term rental elsewhere in the city. Before departing, she made one last attempt. She stood in the hallway with her coat on and told me that people make mistakes and that 19 years should hold some significance. I replied that they indeed do matter. That's why only one hotel bill was necessary. That afternoon, I learned about Trent's situation from Simone's call on the rental phone. Elliot informed me later as he had heard her crying after their conversation. Trent answered once, informing her that he believed she had left her husband already and the divorce was practically finalized. However, Simone had deceived him too. He expressed regret, wished her well, and hung up, never to respond again. The man she discarded 19 years ago didn't attempt to save their relationship. It wasn't due to cowardice, but because he had been presented with a false version of her, and the genuine one arrived laden with too much baggage and no credibility. By the end of that week, Trent was merely a name linked to a boutique hotel charge, and Simone was alone in a way she hadn't been since she was 25. Over the ensuing days, the house gradually became emptier. I documented each room for the inventory, organized her belongings in labeled boxes according to their type, as that's how my mind functions. Weiss managed the paperwork, which I allowed him to do. 3 weeks following the filing, Simone signed the settlement agreement without disputing any provision. The house was mine, given that I had been paying the mortgage for 19 years, a fact that Weiss made clear in the documents. She retained her car and personal savings, which seemed reasonable. There was no courtroom drama, no argument over household items. She signed because she had nothing more to dispute. Nadine wasn't supporting her. Elliot barely talked to her. Trent returned to his Reno dealership, and everyone she could have sought help from already knew the situation. The struggle drained out of her between her conversation with Nadine and Trent's silence, and when the papers arrived, she just wanted it concluded. 2 weeks following the filing, Elliot traveled from Oregon and aided me in transferring Simone's remaining boxes to a rented storage unit. He transported them silently, filled the truck, and once finished, he sat on the tailgate to inquire about my well-being. I responded that I was improving. He acknowledged this with a nod, dialed his mother, and spoke for approximately 4 minutes. He expressed love but also requested time, ending the call sincerely and without malice. The youth managed the situation more effectively than many adults would. That same week, Nadine phoned me. She inquired about my health, if I had consumed anything besides microwaved food, and whether the attorney was concluding matters. She promised to keep checking up on me. I conveyed my gratitude and sincerity. 4 weeks later, on a Friday morning when Simone pushed her luggage out the front door, I stood on the balcony of a compact apartment, 6 blocks from the warehouse. I was grilling steaks on a newly purchased grill, paid for in cash from a hardware store that reeked of sawdust and WD-40. The apartment was modest with a kitchen, bathroom, living room where Elliot slept when he visited, but the balcony faced west, capturing the final hour of sunlight, which sufficed for me. Inside, Elliot was washing dishes and quarreling with his phone over a playlist. My phone vibrated on the railing. A text from Weiss, house transfers completed. Congratulations. I picked up the device, stepped inside, and showed the screen to Elliot. He read it, set down the dish he held, and grabbed 2 beers from the refrigerator. He handed me one, opened his own, and raised it a few inches off the counter. I tapped Mike against his. We didn't speak, as the silence echoed what the moment was already expressing. Back on the smaller balcony, I twisted the rods and observed the sun casting long shadows over the parking lot below. Exactly 19 years ago, I stood on a distinct balcony with a ring hidden in my pocket, convinced that everything would turn out all right. Now I'm here again. No ring, smaller balcony, less expensive view, yet an odd sense of familiarity fills me. Not because life unfolded as I anticipated, but because I made the decision, faced the challenge, and emerged with my name on a deed and my son enjoying dinner mere feet away. That suffices. It was Saturday night, the steaks sizzling on the grill, accompanied by a tranquility that doesn't originate from solitude. It arises from completion.